I'm gonna let it play twice. Get fucking hype. Season 29. Let's get sweaty, boys. Welcome to season 29 prediction show. Not quite Vance yet, but we got ourselves an awesome show tonight, and we've got a full squad of the legendary crew here. I'm your standard host, CMAS, for the most part, and I also got the other standard host, Mr. Connor Rice, man of the year for season 2. Connor, how you feeling, man?
Well, I appreciate you all voting me man of the year. It's been a great last couple weeks of content, between the playoffs that we at Better League Network delivered to you, as well as, the podcast, the announcing, just everything we've done these last couple of weeks. It's been the best, I'd say, 14 days that the Better League Network's ever had, and I'm excited to kind of cap off the offseason here with this really interesting poll results show that Dan, of course, thank you so much for putting this together. This is going to be really fun, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Speaking of Daniel's the one that put this all together with the polls and everything like that. Dan, how you feeling tonight, man?
Hey, I'm doing well, CMAS. How are you?
Thank you. Most people, whenever I ask them that, and like, how's it going tonight, they never ask me back. So thank you, Dan. I've been doing this for I don't know how long now, and nobody ever asked me back. So you kind of caught me off guard. I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you so much. Cody also is here. One of these days, I'm going to have to add you to my thing. Oh, pop out and jump on it. But anyways, Cody, how you feeling tonight, man?
Feeling good. Excited to see what some of the league here thinks of season 29 and what's going to break down here.
That's a fantastic point. We're actually going to go to the first slide here, and Dan's going to give us a breakdown of exactly what went down. I've got the questions on the board, and then we'll kind of give you an idea of what we're going to go over and basically how this is all going to lay out. Daniel?
Yeah, so as you know, I got into everyone's DMs, and I just asked these simple 8 questions. Who's going to win the Super Bowl, the champion each conference, all the playoff teams, who's going to win MVP, and then breakout user and disappointing user. I'm very pleased to see that 30 people responded to this poll that well exceeded my expectations. I am so gracious, and all within 24 hours. It was about 24 hours since I put out the poll and when everyone gave a response. So thank you guys very, very much. I'm very grateful. And I'm also glad people took it very seriously. I was expecting maybe a few, joke poll results, joke submissions, but no, everyone really took it seriously. gave a nice, honest opinion on how they see this season going.
Absolutely. And just to give you guys a breakdown, so myself, because I made the slide, Dan, because he took in the results, and Connor, because I guess he asked for them, know the results of all the polls. Cody, just like the results show, has no idea what's going on, who's won what or anything like that. So you'll get his honest response, initial response for every single one. So it's going to be an exciting show. Here on the screen now, Dan was just saying thank you to everybody that voted. He put me first. I appreciate that, Dan. But a list of everyone.
You were the first to respond.
There you go. Because I'm always in Slack, that's why. I'm going to take a moment to thank Dan and thank Mike for the Random Files and the Mountain Rushmore Better League. That was fun. So thank you for taking the time to kind of put that together and then keep us interested throughout the off season. So thank you very much for that. But let's go ahead and jump right to it. So he mentioned before 30 users that joined in, and then one person that didn't turn in a poll. It was a brand new user, didn't know anybody, so we understood. Now, one person did not submit a poll at all, and me, honestly, I'm not one to call out names. I'm not one to, point out somebody that doesn't make Better League great again. So that's just not my style to call out anyone in particular for not turning in their slide. So, oh my goodness, what's this up on the screen here? Don't worry about that. Let's just go ahead and move forward here. I don't know what that was. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into the MVP race here. How we're gonna go top voters first, and then all the way down to the bottom. It's just gonna be one at a time. Well, actually, not one at a time. It's gonna be based on how many votes. So if there's a tie, it's gonna show both of them. Let's go ahead and get rolling. And this is the person that majority of the league thought was going to be MVP number one, Mr. Zach Bean, with 6 out of 30 votes. Let's get your thoughts on that top MVP voter, and then we'll move on to the rest. We'll start off with Connor because he was prepared. Connor, what you got for me in Zach Bean?
Sure. I mean, this isn't who I voted for. I guess we can get to who I voted for later once he comes up. But I don't think this is an awful choice necessarily. The only, I think, question I have out there for Zach Bean believers is, we did just see Cloud go 6-10, even though it was a very up and down 6-10, even though he did seem to kind of put together there near the end of the season. I question whether, especially in that division, he can have the consistency in terms of the passing game to be able to get that MVP. I would lean to one of Joe Burrow or Matthew Davis, honestly. We just saw Matthew Davis put forth maybe the best quarterbacking season we've ever seen in the Better League. I mean, the efficiency, the raw touchdown stats. It's tough not to see Austin running that back to some extent. And then Joe Burrow, of course, with the X Factor abilities. I'm sure we can get Cody to talk all about that. I'm really excited. I think we'll see a much more pass-heavy attack potentially from the Cincinnati Bengals now that Joe Burrow has those abilities. And then, of course, more touchdowns and more hot dots as a result. But not a horrible pick here, but not necessarily the one I would have gone with in Zach Bean.
Dan, what were your thoughts when you got the MVP race and you tallied it up and you saw Zach Bean receive the most votes?
Well, I was
rookie,
surprised a little, but not so much because we had Austin's quarterback, Matthew Davis, get the MVP very easily last season. So I think a lot of people just think, it's probably going to be something similar this time around, especially in this passers league we currently have. Although after seeing that Zach Bean is X Factor development, I'm not so sure that Cloud's necessarily going to be able to want to really a necessity to cheese him, if you know what I mean. So he's already X Factor. He's already div to the highest ability. So is there any need for him to put up MVP type numbers? I'm not sure, but I'm very curious to know what everyone else thought. Obviously, people thought Zach Bean was going to be the MVP, but very diverse, very, very diverse picks for MVP. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you an idea. There was 30 votes and only 6, so it's pretty diverse. Absolutely. Cody, your initial thoughts? Zach Bean, a player that's not even played a down in Better League, is what everybody thinks.
And actually, I was one of these 6 voters here for Zach Bean. I think that I will say it does put a little bit of a question mark by it, since now that Bean's been drafted and we all have learned that he is superstar X Factor, that does put a bit of a asterisk or question mark, I think, by my vote and maybe by others' votes, because the reason I voted is voted this way is when Cloud gets his guy. I feel like he plays very inspired football. He does this every year. He picked the Cardinals and traded away an elite quarterback in Kyler Murray because this is just what Cloud likes to do. Cloud likes to draft a quarterback and he likes to go to work with them. And he tried to do that with what was the kid out of Hawaii, Cole
McDonald, yeah.
Yeah, Cole McDonald. So he tried to do that, didn't work out as well for him. A bit tougher when, obviously, he doesn't have the intangibles and the skills that Bean or, some of the top rookie quarterbacks that you might be able to take in the draft are going to have. And so I just think Cloud plays some really inspired. He like in football, he feels like he's more maybe invested in the league when he's got his guy. And so that's why my vote was here. And I think that's why you see, 5 other votes here as well, plus mine, because we just know that's, Cloud's brand of football.
Yeah, absolutely. In the chat, Taint says he's changing his vote to McCole Hardman. So he loves just pointing that out. Let's go ahead and move forward with the rest of the MVP votes. We've got 3 different guys with 3 votes. Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Davis, as mentioned before, Cameron Akers. And then let's get to the basically the rest of these votes here, and we'll get your reaction to Sean Watson, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Burrow, Norman Fletcher, and then a bunch of ones. Saquon Barkley, Cam Rich, Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, or something like that. Levi Kaysen, Kyler Murray. This is the whole list of everyone that received a vote for MVP. Connor, after looking at this list, and you've had however long you've had to digest it, what were your thoughts here?
So, I already kind of gave you like my general picks would be one of Matthew Davis or Joe Burrow, but it's hard to doubt most of the guys on this list. The 2 running backs are relatively high up there, Cam Akers and Jonathan Taylor. We know that, despite the memes when it comes to Justin, he is one of the best running users in this league, and he is one of the users that will establish and stick to the run more than almost anyone else in this league. So Jonathan Taylor, not a bad bet whatsoever. We saw him be highly efficient last season. Cam Akers, he's back in King's hands. It's funny, we've seen like a kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation going on with King, where like one season he'll go extremely run heavy. Yeah. The following season, of course, with Kaysen, we saw him go extremely pass heavy. And then now with Akers back, I expect to see him swing back the other direction and go run heavy once again. So yeah, Akers not a bad pick. Cam, I assume either Lucky submitted Cam Rich or like, I don't know what happened there, but he's not going to have the efficiency to win MVP. It is what it is. Most of these, like, I can see the justification for on some level, but yeah, as I said before, I would have picked one of Matthew Davis or Joe Burrow, but a lot of deserving candidates, of course, on this MVP list.
Big Alex says, Chiefs believers, we hear you. Lucky says in the chat, someone voted Cam Rich. LMAO, let's go, baby. It wasn't me, he said. Oh, somebody says, I believe in Tua. That was, who was that? That's Nico. Nico, welcome, man. Dan, your thoughts of the whole MVP list?
I really think I took this poll a day too early because no one knew that King was going to retake Cam Akers and he was going to re-roll him and get human joystick. Yeah. I think if I took this poll right now, I think Cam Akers would win with what we know now. So that's a little interesting. Actually, one person told me, take my vote away for whoever I had and give it to Cam Akers. So that's what happened. Personally, I think there's too many quarterbacks. Traditionally in Madden, you see a running back win MVP. I voted a running back. I actually voted Jonathan Taylor because I think, as Connor said, Justin, he's going to run the ball. He's going to stick to the run, and he's going to be very efficient with that. Quarterbacks throw too many interceptions in Madden. It's very rare to see a quarterback get MVP in the game in a 32-man CFM. What we saw with Matt Davis last year was very rare because Austin just had that much of an exceptional season. So traditionally, it's going to be a running back. So I'm a little surprised too many quarterbacks. That's my thing.
Cody.
Yeah, I think really there's only 2 names that stick out to me, at least on this list, that don't make any sense to me. And
call him out, baby.
The first is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I love Chat. Believe me, I love Chat. But him getting 2 MVP votes for Watson's a bit confusing to me. He's going to air the ball out a lot. But to Dan's point, like he was just saying, he's probably going to throw a lot of interceptions. So that's that's that. Maybe Chapter is one of the votes, but yeah, a bit surprising to see 2 votes for Deshaun, and then I think I guess to see Levi Kaysen on there is a bit surprising, but I will say this happened before King got Cam Akers, so
yeah.
I guess I can understand it, but basically my thoughts are this in terms of outside of Zach Bean. I think the 2 or 3 that make sense to me for MVP are Matthew Davis, Cam Akers, and Norman Fletcher. So, and those are all 2 or 3 vote getters there. And I think, I don't think anyone would disagree with me on that.
Big Alex says, I've never won a BL MVP in 29 season. The time is now. All right, let's go ahead and move forward from the MVPs. We're going to move forward to Breakout User, and I'm moving forward. I'm just going to basically show us the whole list and get your thoughts. Let's go ahead and show you this list. The top 2 Breakout Users with 4 votes each, Jesse and Reese. Reese, a new user. Fern gets himself the second most votes with 3. A bunch of 2s in here. Cam, Cloud, Lucky, Cook, which is interesting. And then other people that received 1 vote, Chap, Austin, Rhode Island, not sure how he's going to break out after winning a Super Bowl. Sean, Mike, Nicholas, Morty, Wozy, Taint, Phil, and Dom. Connor, your thoughts on this Breakout User list? What sticks out of you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we might as well give Dan Breakout User votes if we're going to give Austin 1. Come on, guys. I was one of the 1 vote guys here. I actually, and this is not necessarily a ringing endorsement of his Madden skills, but I think Mike very low key is going to go 6 and 10 or 7 and 9. And again, excuse me, not an endorsement of his Madden skills, but his schedule's extremely easy. 4th place schedule. They play the NFC East. They play I think the AFC South or something. I forgot what the other division is, but I think Mike's going to have the single easiest schedule, in the league this season. So I could very easily see him picking up some nice wins, going 6 and 10, 7 and 9. And if he even gets to 6 wins, I think at that point he could be definitely considered a Breakout User contender. As far as the top 6 or so go, you mentioned Jesse, Reese, Fern, Cam, Cloud, Lucky. I don't know. I mean, the tough thing with Jesse is, and Cody can attest to this as well, we're going to have an incredibly hard schedule. We play maybe the 2 best divisions in the better league, in the AFC East and the NFC South. So it's going to be really hard for him to accumulate the wins, especially again in a division with Cody, where he also has to play the Bengals twice a year. So I don't necessarily see that happening. I think he's going to probably beat around 8 and 8 or so, which is where he was last year. And then as far as the rest of the league goes, I don't really know how Cook's going to win after going 8 and 8. That probably feels like his peak, but yeah, I voted for Mike just based on, again, his schedule and the fact that I think he could probably beat some fellow bottom dwellers potentially.
Daniel?
Yeah. So how I said that not many people voted for themselves, pumping themselves up. This might have been the only exception. A lot of people did vote for themselves. People just really have a lot of faith that this is going to be the season,
And that's good.
And I feel it. Yeah. I feel it. That's a lot of confidence.
This is the Bears year, so y'all can just stop feeling that way. Just saying.
Yeah. But Jesse
laughing,
at the
Dan?
top. Jesse at the top with number 4.
It was a funny joke, C-Mass, that's why.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. It was good. It was good. Jesse at the number 4 at the top. Yeah, that was my vote. Jesse has always been due for a breakout. He's always improving. He improved towards the end of Madden 20. He's solid in Madden 21. I believe he missed the playoffs 2 seasons in a row, and he was just one game off. You turn 1 game away, and he's a playoff user and a consistent playoff user if he just gets a little bit better. And I think everyone kind of believes that, Jesse's almost there, and finally he's going to break through. I think this is the year, and a few other people do too.
Cody, your thoughts after seeing this list for the first time?
Yeah, I think it makes sense for the most part. I think I kind of agree with Connor a little bit in terms of, I don't know that I agree about Jesse with 4, but that's not discredit to Jesse. So let me explain. Actually, what that is, that's credit to Jesse, because to me, Jesse is a guy that could, in a blink of an eye, all of a sudden could be in the playoff mix. And so to me, that's not really a breakout. because, he has what it takes to get to the playoffs. He has what it takes to put together a solid season. In my personal opinion, a breakout user is someone that kind of completely flips their season around, or their past 2 seasons around. And so my vote was actually for Sean Goldring, the Ravens user. For those of you that don't know who that is, or who know who Sean Goldring is. And my reasoning behind that is I think a lot of people I'll put it this way. I think a lot of people sleep on Sean, but I think Sean also sleeps on himself. Seems like sometimes it's a bit of a mental game for him. He kind of gets himself out of it pretty early on in the game and kind of gives up. But Sean's a BL Super Bowl winner. And, it's been quite some time, but, he's still a BL Super Bowl winner. And he's still shown the capabilities with being able to stick up with, or, hang in with many playoff teams. He's hung in there with me. He's hung in there with Connor. He's hung in there with plenty of people. And so to me, I think Sean's one of those guys that you could see, he had, I don't know exactly what his record was, but I think it was a pretty strong losing record, I guess, for the most part. And so he's a guy that I could see all of a sudden, fighting for a playoff spot and turning that around. But outside of that, I think this list makes sense. Reese, I'm not really sure. I don't really know much about him, and him being in a division with Austin and Little Alex, that's a bit of a question mark to me. But everyone else on this list, I feel like, I think it makes sense and has a shot to be a breakout user. Well, other than Austin, because he just won the Super Bowl, so that doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah. I just wanted to add too, everyone had their own definition of what a breakout user is. Cody was talking about what his definition is. I have a different definition. Connor had his own definition. And a lot of these people would tell me, this is what I think a breakout user is. So breakout is, a very ambiguous term. And a lot of people just kind of voted, says, okay, this person's going to, do better this year, or this person's going to have an exceptional year versus, a pretty good year. So, as I said, very diverse opinions, but diverse on kind of the definition of breakout.
Well said. All right, let's go ahead and just for the record, since everybody pretty much said it except for Dan, I voted for P myself. I expect a breakout season from Mr. P. My definition being that he'll just surprise everybody and make it into the playoffs. We'll see. But that was my pick. Until he just drafted a center with a pick that he traded for Justin Herbert, but that's beside the point. Disappointing users. Let's go ahead and go through. This is what everybody, 30 people think, minus one person. What didn't vote? Let's go ahead and go through these. King with the most votes for 7. And then after that, Little Alex and Phil with 3 each, respectively. Steel Connor. Oh, sorry, buddy. And Big Alex with 2. And then others receiving 1 vote. Lucky Dan, Fern, Taint, Ben, Cook, Hero, Cody, Nick, and Mike. Connor, your thoughts on this list?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to young Alex and Justin for those votes. I don't know who had which votes, but I can guarantee you it was those 2. So hi guys. Yeah, I mean, King just had probably, even though he's made the Super Bowl back in, I believe, Madden 19, this might have been the best playoff run he's ever made in terms of, being able to blow out Dan, who had made 6 Super Bowls previous. So it's pretty hard to kind of surpass that even further if you're King, especially given, the King-Ben dynamic within that division. It seems like Ben kind of has King on clamps in terms of that specific matchup. So I don't hate the vote whatsoever. I'm trying to think of who I voted for. I think I voted for Phil. Yeah, I voted for Phil. And the reason being, I really did not like the final 5-6 weeks or so of his season. He really kind of fell off a cliff there near the end when he was, trying to go for his potential playoff run. He really instead turned into what was honestly one of the worst users in the league. Got swept by Payne. Both of those were relatively clean, relatively decisive victories for Payne in my Week 17 game against him, which remember was to go to the playoffs. It's essentially a playoff game, a play-in game, if you will. I completely destroyed him, and I didn't even play that well. It was not a very competitive game, excuse me. So I worry about that, and I think with how I see Alex, Morty, and potentially, as you said, CMAS, Payne all getting better within that division, I see Phil going the other way. I see Phil getting worse. So I think that would be my most disappointing user based on the fact that he's won, multiple Super Bowls in the past. And I do not see him getting more than 6 or 7 wins this season based on the schedule and based on how he ended last season.
Dan?
This was a much wider margin than what we've seen before with other votes. King is kind of the consensus number one disappointing user. I got that from a lot of different people. A lot of people that put disappointing user would kind of give it to their rival. You know, someone would say, okay, my division rival, he's going to be disappointing, or someone they don't like, like he's going to be disappointing. A couple people put themselves. So I don't know really what that means, but you know, maybe some reverse psychology. I don't know. But, very, very interesting.
Cody, your thoughts after seeing this list for the first time?
Yeah, I'll say I was a part of the King vote here, and really, to me, this is not so much a knock on King, because I think King's a really good user. You know, I've spoke to it before. I played in his division last season, but really, this is more so my thoughts on Cloud season. To comment on what Connor was saying before earlier, you know, Ben has showed that he's kind of been, kind of has King, you know, under wraps. He handled him pretty easily in the playoffs. Has handled him pretty easily in the regular season. And then if we assume, or you know, me personally, if I assume that Cloud is playing really well and beats King 2 times as well, that's 4 losses already just from his division. And that's not to mention that he plays Lucky, who's very any given Sunday. And that's not to mention, you know, the rest of his schedule. And so that was my thought, is like, I could see very easily 4 or 5 losses right then and there in his division. And that's not even the rest of his schedule. And so that's kind of where my vote was. The rest of these, I don't agree with Little Alex. I mean, people keep sleeping on Little Alex, and he keeps, he keeps coming in and showing up. And so Little Alex, see yourself with 3 votes here. Use it as fire to kind of keep you going. I don't know. I mean, I don't really agree necessarily with Connor, unless people think that, I mean, he's beat Jesse, I think, the past 4 or 5 times they've played. And so sure, I beat him, but you know, he's had a firm grasp on second place in the division. And then I definitely don't agree with the vote on Cody, but what can you do? Yeah.
And, you know, some people like earlier with Breakout Player, you know, some people have different definitions of disappointing. Some people apparently have different definitions of what predictions mean and assume the awards were based on your merits of last season, like Little Alex. Which thank you, Dan and Connor, for explaining to him what the whole premise of this was for.
We really got to like lay things out slowly for him, but it's all good.
All right, this is a disappointing user. I voted for Fern, so I voted for a division rival, like Dan said. Let's go ahead and we're gonna move forward to the AFC playoffs. It's getting a little juicier here. Okay, this is what most people think that the playoff users would be, and then keep in mind a little asterisk means that it was a unanimous decision. Okay. 2 users were unanimous decisions in the AFC. Cody, let me ask you this, since you're the only one that doesn't know. Who do you think would be the 2 unanimous AFC playoff choice?
I'm gonna go with Austin and Alex were the unanimous choices.
The 2 unanimous AFC playoffs was Cody and Austin. I think you're just being humble there, and I appreciate it. Was yourself and Austin. Both received 30 full votes. Let's go through the rest of this list as well. Not far behind, missing 3 votes, was Chiefs, Big Alex and Little Alex. Then we've got Justin with 25 votes, Raiders with 21 votes, and then we've got Jesse with 17. So that's what everybody thinks the playoff picture would look like. And then let's go through everybody else. Connor just missing with 10, Phil 9, and so forth. Connor, your thoughts on seeing this AFC playoff picture?
Well, you know, guys, it's such an honor and a privilege to see the little old Cleveland Browns get 10 votes. I mean, I really do appreciate y'all. I'm lying! How dare you put Jesse over me when I've sweat that ass up twice? What kind of, like, what? Why did he get 7 more votes than me, C-Mass? Please explain this. I have beat that ass every time we've played. Cody just said it. I have firm grasp on second place in that division. Like, I don't care. Like, you can say I don't make playoffs. That's fine. How are 7 people going to put Jesse over me? C-Mass, explain.
My guess, if you actually want me to, is that they think you'll win those 2 games, but then you won't fare as well in the rest, I guess.
Well, goddamn, C-Mass!
I didn't put you.
I mean, this is the most disrespectful shit I've ever seen.
I don't know, man. Have you seen the Renewing Files? I'm just kidding. Speaking of which,
Well,
Dan,
you're not wrong there. Yeah,
Dan, what do you think of the
overrated
AFC
clowns out
playoffs
here.
here?
Well, Cody and Austin are, the class of the AFC, as well as
You
Alex
get a
and
sub.
Little
You
Alex.
get a sub. Everybody gets
Obviously, everyone gave him respect. I'm a little surprised that Phil is at number 9. I know he had a pretty disappointing season, but I think that kind of went a little under his expectations. I do expect him to get back into the playoffs and be a contender, at least for a wild card spot. I did put Phil in the playoffs. I mean, we got some other people receiving some votes too. Cam, Chapter Roll, Payne received a couple votes, and then Sean and Reese. And as far as I know, I don't know if they even voted for themselves. So
you get a sub. You get a sub. Everybody
yeah, so
gets
a lot of people giving,
subs.
all those other guys love. So nice to see.
And then I forgot to click the last button there. The people that didn't receive any votes are there at the bottom, Titans and Jets. But Morty, thank you much for the gifted sub to Nico, who then gave it right back to the community, to Slanger. Thank you so much. Cody, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts here are I'm surprised that Big Alex doesn't have 30 votes. He showed that, he's kind of in command of the AFC West so far. So surprising to see that. I think the 27 for Little Alex makes sense. 25 for Justin makes sense. He's had a pretty good stranglehold on the AFC South for the most part. Morty really kind of bursted onto the scene in the playoffs in his stretch, so it makes sense to see 21 votes there. In my opinion, surprising to see 17 on Jesse. To Connor's point, to see 17 on Jesse, only 10 on Connor, and then only 9 on Phil. I actually voted for Phil, and that's no disrespect to Connor, but more so to
disrespect taken, Cody. Disrespect taken.
but mainly more disrespect to, or not. Sorry, no, more like commenting towards how hard I know our AFC North schedule is. Me alone, I'm in the mindset of all right, I got to go 6-0 in our division because I know how difficult the AFC North schedule is this year. And so I had that in mind when I kind of voted for Phil as my last spot. But yeah, a little bit surprising to see 17 on Jesse. And then, I could see, I could see Jesse, Connor, and Phil all being much closer in the vote category there, but I guess the rest of the league does not agree. And I think for the most part, this list makes sense though.
Cam a little upset in the chat. He says that I won this off in the first season. Then in a separate comment says, "Stranglehold my butt."
That is right. That is right. I did forget about that. You were correct.
All right, that's the AFC playoffs. We're going to move to the NFC playoffs, which are a lot less diverse, for sure. Same thing, 30 votes with asterisk means they were, I can't even think of the word, unanimous votes. There's only one unanimous, Cody. Who do you think it is?
Daniel Raynon.
That was Mr. Daniel Raynon with 30 unanimous votes. 2 players really close. That's Hero Austin with 29, Ben with 29, myself with 26, Steel 23, King 19, Cloud with 14, and then the rest of everybody else that you can see there. Connor, probably a little less heated for this one. How do you feel about the NFC?
Yeah, just a little bit. We're turning it down from a 10 to a 2 for the NFC playoffs here. I think Ben and Hero Austin got to be unanimous as well. I don't know if there was just straight hating going on with one of the ballots, but, Ben, one of the very best users in this league, even in that really difficult division, I think he deserves unanimous induction here. And then Hero Austin, less based on his play and more based on that division is just not good. And I can only assume that one person just forgot to put the division winners in or it was King. Actually, it was probably King. I just answered my own question, I think. So that's probably that. And yeah, this is actually the way you have this laid out. Saints, 49ers, Giants, Bears, Panthers, Rams, Cardinals. This was actually my exact ballot and in the exact order I submitted it. I think this will be perhaps the 1 through 7 seeding here. 1 through 4, Saints, 49ers, Giants, Bears, and then the three wildcard teams. So I have no complaints whatsoever. I will say, as far as the non-playoff teams, Lions, Bucks, and Seahawks here, who seem to be the kind of 1, 2, 3 there as far as the guys on the outside looking in. I think of those guys, I would probably say that Fern has the best chance to make it. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's some like truly elite user, that he's like way, way better than Wozy. I mean, remember that Wozy just made the playoffs and won a game within the playoffs, which is more than you can say for some within this party. Shout out to Dan and myself, members of the One and Done Club, and Cody, actually. And CMAS. Wait a minute. We're all parts of the One and Done Club.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. We suck.
This is a straight.
Well, Dan's overrated. We all know that.
Yeah, I mean, can't argue with people, but I would give Fern maybe a bit more love here, probably equalize it a little bit more with Cloud and King. But other than that, no complaints whatsoever. I like how we have this selected here.
And Austin in the chat, and that's Hero Austin. Cam voted for Taint, allegedly. So Taint did not vote for himself. Dan, is there anybody else that didn't vote for themselves in this?
No. Cam isn't telling the truth.
Oh, he's not? Oh, okay, so Taint voted for himself.
Well, I can tell you, the only thing I'll say is the one person that didn't have Hero Austin in the playoffs had another NFC East team in the playoffs. So, and it was another NFC
that makes
East
sense,
team.
right?
So, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was one of those NFC East teams that voted for themselves to beat Hero Austin. So that's all I have to say.
Feel pretty confident.
Looks like Taint based on what I'm seeing. So yeah, Taint, I love the confidence.
I love the confidence too, and you just gotta love the confidence. You can't go in thinking you're gonna go 2-14. But I'm a little surprised to see Steele has only 23 votes. He was 12-4 last year, maybe 12-4 the year before. I'm not sure, maybe 11-5. But he's always gonna make the playoffs. I cannot see a scenario where Steele does not make the playoffs, even if I win the division. For all we know, he could win the division. He could beat me out. It's just that competitive in the South, and Steele is neck and neck, and I'm a little surprised 7 people left him out. I agree with the Cloud love. I'm glad people were not very reactionary of last season and took Cloud like completely out of the playoffs. He snuck his way in. Maybe Fern should get a little bit more love. He's talking a little confident about how he's going to do in the season, and and a lot more votes for other people like Cook. Bose got a couple votes, and Nick. Actually, I do have to say, one person voted Nick in the playoffs, and it was not a Rhode Islander. Someone with no affiliation to Rhode Island put Nick in the playoffs. If he wants to say who he is,
we're considering Cody's not a Rhode Islander.
Probably no, not Cody. No one in the clan or the clique or whatever voted for Nick. He's probably in the chat. He's a longtime better leaguer. If he wants to say who he is, he's more than welcome to. But I was very surprised. Very bold prediction, and I love it.
Cody?
Yeah, I think to Connor's point, I'll keep it pretty brief because I agree with everything that Connor and Dan said. I think the list makes sense. Maybe a couple people got disrespected in terms of like they should have had more votes, like Steele. Ben and Hero Austin probably should have been unanimous, but unanimous. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes when you say words, like it's like, did I say that right? Anyways,
story of Connor's life.
For me, I actually was a. I was a Fern voter, and I see Lucky, in the chat being like Fern over me. But in my opinion, I think Fern's pretty slept on. Obviously last year he had a pretty juiced team that he took over from Jared. But there's a lot of talk when you talk about the better league. There's a lot of talk about who's the best like user linebacker and that type of stuff, or who's an underrated user linebacker, and people say Jesse and that type of stuff. I agree with the Jesse take on that, but I also think people leave Fern out of that conversation. Fern can lurk the middle of the field, with some, with the best, and so. I think he's had a little bit of some difficulties in terms of going from, what was probably one of the better Madden teams that anyone would ever see in the 20 cycle to, probably one of the worst teams and getting the Lions. And so I'm sure he's trying to figure out his play style on that, and probably why you saw some woes this past year. Just in season 1, he was knocking on playoff contention, but ultimately didn't make it, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, but I don't know. I was a Fern voter, and I think a lot of people sleep on Fern. So that was, that's my thoughts, I guess.
Moving on from the NFC playoffs, we're going to go straight to the AFC Champion. This is who everybody thought was going to be the representative. Not everybody, but 30 people. Leaving out the person who didn't say it. That was the username of. All right, let's go ahead. And Austin received the most votes with 9 to represent the AFC, as Cam tips $1. Big spender. $9. 9 from Austin, 6 for Little Alex and Big Alex, 5 for Mr. Cody Youngson, 2 for Justin. Raiders and Broncos filling it up there with 1 each. Connor, your thoughts on who the people think, not a single vote for you, for representing the AFC champions?
Okay, that was unnecessary. I mean, a little bit of disrespect towards my man Cody Youngson here. I mean, he just got X Factor with Joe Burrow. He just got Joe Mixon's abilities. I know some of them weren't quite what Cody was wanting, but overall, like, this is a far more juiced, far more stacked offense than he's had in any of the previous 2 seasons. I'm not saying he should be at the very top. I do think, given that what we just saw from Austin, with that incredible playoff run he just made, really taking it to every user he played, I do think Austin should be at the top. I think he deserves to be at the top of the AFC champ list, but I would probably put Cody Youngson right there, number 2 behind him, honestly. As far as the rest of the list goes, the only user of these 7, I guess, that I would be absolutely blown away if they made the playoffs is going to be Phil. I mean, you heard me. I just said that. I think Phil's going to be the most disappointing user. And even if he isn't, I fail to see how he's going to string together, 3 games in the playoffs against elite competition like this. But, even like Morty and Justin, I mean, Morty, we just saw, make the AFC championship and then be able to stay with Austin for most of that AFC championship game. Justin, it honestly, despite the memes, despite everything, it would not completely shock me if he made the Super Bowl. If he's just able to completely establish Jonathan Taylor and just, run down everyone's throats, it wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, he's already made multiple Super Bowls and people forget that. But I generally like the ordering of this. I just, again, got to give my man Cody Youngson a little more credit here.
Dan?
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Connor. Cody deserves a lot more love. They kind of forget what he was season 1, and that people are very recency bias. Cody went 1 and done, had a bad loss to Morty in the divisional round, but he'll be back. He's always a favorite.
Imagine losing Austin, in the first round, bro, or your first playoff game.
Like, right? Imagine that. Like, but Austin, number 1, clear cut number 1, defending champion. Obviously everyone believes in him now. Little Alex definitely got a lot of love. A lot of people see his improvement. I see his improvement. Would not be surprised if he went all the way to the Super Bowl. He's definitely one of those improving people, improving all the time, every year. Alex is definitely one of those guys too. He's got his team where he wants it. He's gonna be very competitive towards the end. And yeah, I'd probably just cut it off at those 4. And I obviously the league agrees. 2 people vote for Justin and 1 for Morty and Phil. Obviously, maybe some Cinderella again for Morty and possibly for Phil too.
Cody?
Yeah, I just think I love it. They forget so easily about season 1. But it's whatever. They forget that I'm 2-0 against Little Alex, and I have less votes than him as AFC champion. I guess they just forget. It's all right. They might have amnesia. Maybe they just they don't love Cincinnati. They don't like Skyline Chili. I don't know what it is, but I think the list makes sense outside of the hate for me. But we use it to fuel our fire here in Cincinnati. And as Joe Burrow, puts his Texas routes and his corner routes and his post routes and his crosses out there. So just let me know.
Jesse says, "Don't sleep on Cody. Man's a dog." So
yeah, but he's just like he was just the number 1 seed in the AFC twice in a row. I get he lost round, but like he literally won the Super Bowl year 1. I don't get it at all. I think it was wildly disrespectful.
I mean, 5 votes. I feel like that's a good amount.
Yeah, but I mean 6th on that list. I mean, Alex, can we talk about how Alex hasn't won a playoff game with the Chiefs? Like, can we talk about that, or are we just gonna, because he's the commissioner, we're just gonna shut up about that? We have the same number of playoff berths and same number of playoff wins. I'm just saying, like, we can talk about it. We can open up a dialogue.
I think it's just the acquisition of CD Lamb is just going to take him over the top with that those extra 16 first-round picks that he got, according to Phil, in that deal. So that might be the differentiator there. But that's who the league thinks is going to represent the AFC. Let's go ahead and move forward with the NFC. Before we do that, I got to read off. I see that Cam donated $1 and it doesn't auto read off. You got to at least donate $5. But I'll read it off. It says the Jacksonville Wolverines will make some noise. We'll see. I hope you do, buddy. I want to see some liveliness out of your Cam this year. All right, NFC Champion. We've got Mr. Daniel with 17 votes with the most. Then Ben with 9. Then Hero Austin with 3, and then just middling with just 1 vote, myself, Mr. CMass. Connor, your thoughts on the less diverse NFC Champion representative votes?
I mean, we low-key could have just cut it off at Dan and
Wow.
Ben. I was gonna say, like, maybe sprinkle a couple on CMass just because of that. Like, that roster's looking incredible. I know you said CMass a couple days ago, highest overall team in the league. You got the superstars and the X factors all over the field, especially on offense. So that's looking pretty good. But again, with Hero Austin, kind of similar to a certain AFC user that I just mentioned, I'm going to need to see him win a playoff game before I truly believe in him when it comes to making a true Super Bowl run. I would have maybe liked to see King get a little bit more love. I mean, we did just see him make the AFC Championship game, and I know that Ben's a bad matchup for him, but I could have very easily seen the justification for giving King, 1 or 2 votes potentially. But yeah, Dan and Ben, the clear 1, 2, or 2-1, however you want to put him, in whatever order. I think that's pretty obvious here.
And Jesse says NFC is very top heavy compared to the AFC. I'd agree with that. Dan, your thoughts on these votes here?
I'm incredibly flattered and honored that 17 people voted for a one-and-done user to win their conference.
Overrated one-and-done user.
An overrated, yep, exactly. But yeah, I mean, from just an objective standpoint, after the lottery, when I took the Saints and Ben took the 49ers, the general consensus was the NFC would always be between myself and Ben. Now, I do think that other people have a shot, like UC Mass, Hero Austin definitely has a shot. But as the voters show, it's Saints 49ers. That's what the NFC should come down to, unless some upsets are given down the stretch. And I mean, you can definitely break out if you really play well, CMass and Hero Austin as well. But the voters say class of the NFC, Saints Niners.
Cody?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'll keep it brief and, without jumping too far ahead, because I've got some more comments, I guess, when we get to the Super Bowl champion. But yeah, it makes sense. I think, I'm sure Ben will probably see this list and feel a little bit disrespected. But I think in general, people feel like if Dan's in that NFC Championship game, he's going to the Super Bowl. And so I think that's kind of where those votes lie. Obviously he had a rare one and done last year, but I think that's why you see that big margin of gap between 9 and 17, or that not being a bit closer. I think it's just to what Dan was saying before. If it's Dan and Ben in an NFC Championship game, I think people just like Dan over Ben. 75% of the time, or whatever you want to say. So, but yeah, I think the list makes sense.
Dan, I'm not normally one to ask you to name names, but who gave you the pity vote for CMass?
It is the same person that put Nick in the playoffs.
Oh,
ouch! Oh God!
CMass, he shouldn't have asked. He shouldn't have asked.
As long as it wasn't Connor picking me, then I feel pretty good. Because that would just ruin everything. All right, let's move to the Super Bowl champion. This is the people that y'all think are gonna win it all, and the person who received the most votes. Dan with 8 votes, Ben with 7, just behind him. Interesting that Dan got so many NFC votes and so little Super Bowl votes. Anyways, Patriots, Chiefs, Bengals, and then everybody else that received 1 vote here. Ooh, I even got a little vote there. I must have been that same person. Connor, your thoughts?
Yes, I mean, I won't go down the same spiel again, but only 2 votes for Cody Youngson. Come on, guys. Like, I'm not saying I voted for Cody. I voted for Dan. I mean, you don't get rich betting against Dan when it comes to the playoffs, even given what we just saw last season. And I see this as like the ultimate revenge narrative. I think he's going to just take it out on the rest of the league. But the league disrespected Cody. It is what it is. I don't need to touch on it too much further because you've already heard me say that. Again, we have a pretty, I think, justifiable top 5 here. Again, other than maybe bumping Cody up here, Dan, Ben, Austin, Alex. I could easily see all those guys winning potentially, even though, again, Alex having the same number of playoff wins as Nico here. And then as far as the 1-vote candidates go, I'm being so disrespectful, I know, but as far as the 1-vote candidates go, little Alex, we've seen him kind of rise above a little bit in the playoffs. We've seen him, give some truly elite users some good games, so wouldn't completely shock me. CMAS, I'll be honest, it would completely shock me, but you never know. With that roster, it could happen. Teams have definitely carried users to victories before, and we could see that happen here in Chicago. Morty, do not sleep on him. I say it every single time. He could make it. It would not shock me whatsoever. Phil, I don't know who voted for Phil, but whatever. It is what it is.
Dan?
Once again, flattered and honored to be an overrated, one and done Super Bowl favorite. I've never thought that those words could be uttered, but I mean, that's what the voters decided. As you pointed out, CMAS, I was very interested to see that 17 people had me get to the Super Bowl, but only 8 had me win. That means I was 8 and 9 in all of those Super Bowl predictions. I guess people just don't like the matchup versus me and Austin, me and Alex, myself versus Cody. But it is what it is. Ben, when people said Ben was going to the Super Bowl, they said he was going to win it. Mm-hmm. I think he was 7-2 in those games. So it was very interesting. Maybe it's just a matchup thing. Maybe people just say, okay, if it's Ben's year, it's Ben's year. Which is definitely a kind of thing that Ben's all about. So and as Connor said, it's very disrespectful to Cody. I don't think Cody put himself, so that is a vote that he could have if he really wanted to be less modest with his vote. Great to see some Lil Alex love, a little bit of CMAS love. Morty and Phil as well. You never know. Any of these people could win the Super Bowl conceivably. So that's what's great about the Better League. Anyone can win.
Well, we get our first new Super Bowl winner this cycle. I feel like we need that. We're sick of the same old people, right? Am I right?
The Hall of Champions would disagree.
The Hall of Champions. One of these days we'll get into that secret chat of the Hall of Champions, which I'm assuming exists. It's just a rumor. Who knows if it actually exists?
But you gotta win the Super Bowl, CMAS.
I guess so. Maybe this is the year. We find out here in week 1, which will be happening very shortly. I mean, we still technically have 12 minutes left, so let's get our final thoughts here before we move forward with this season. Connor, I'm going to start with you as I've been doing this whole show. I want your final thoughts on basically all these polls and then the season moving forward.
Well, I mean, as far as the polls in general, I do, much like Dan was kind of saying in the introduction, I do really appreciate you all taking this, very seriously. There were not a lot of meme picks here, both with the, MVP, Super Bowl winner, breakout user, whatever. I think you all took it very seriously, and I think that really benefits this overall production, gives a lot more legitimacy, and I appreciate, this is just as Austin was saying in a certain Rhode Island chat, this is a very clout-filled group of 4 here. You got myself, you got CMAS, you got Cody, you got Dan. Just a whole lot of clout here between those 3, at least. I'm not too much, but I appreciate having me be a part of this. And I'm just really excited for another great season. It's gonna be a tough season. It's gonna be a hard schedule. Cody again can attest to the difficult schedule we're playing, but I'm just excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to keep, along with CMAS, Cody, and whoever else, keep creating content for the Better League as we head into season 29. So thank you for letting me be part of it.
Dan, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I came up with the idea to do this league-wide poll, and I was put in that channel and got a lot of thumbs up, and I was very pleased to see that many people willing to participate, and so many people did it so quickly, and I was like, hey, why don't I just DM everybody and see what they think? So I did, and pretty much the entire league, with the exception of 2 people, came back with very well thought out responses, and I'm very grateful, very pleased. I just want to thank everyone for participating in this, because this is really fun, and I really think maybe this can be a yearly tradition. I'd love to do this again, next season, the season after, and all of this, because it was really fun to hear what people think. And obviously we can compare this to what the real results are, and it could be a nice little fun tradition.
Cody?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Connor and Dan said, I agree. I think it was really great that people took this seriously. It's great for the league. It's great for content. Just goes to show you how excited people are for the Better League. They want to be a part of it. They want to see the content. They want to keep making Better League great again. So hats off to Dan putting in the work to DM all the people that didn't respond, and then hats off to those people for taking a few minutes, or if they took longer and had some really thorough thoughts about it, then to respond and whatnot. And so because I think this is great, and excited for this incoming season, and I think it's gonna be a fun one. I think if I can go, if I can talk about who I think is gonna win it all, for me, I think it's Dan's year. I think I think he's seen his guys Cody and Austin now go 1-2, and I think Dan's gonna be hungry, thinking I need to be number 3. I don't want to see anybody else's name up there other than number 3. But Dan better hope that he doesn't meet Cody in the Super Bowl, because he's winless against him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 0-2.
Better hope so, and that's a good point. And Dan's going to find that out week 1. He's got a tough test against these Bears, and right now we got on the screen. We're going to go through and see who is under the salary cap, because like I said, you need to be under there by 10, and here we are. Bears are under. Bengals, wow, they got a lot of room. My God. Bills barely.
We're really doing
got Joe
this, all
Burrow
right.
contract coming
I
up.
told you, we're making sure everybody's under the cap, but we will call you out. Bills barely under. Broncos good. Browns good. Bucks barely 666,000. Cards good. Chargers good. Chiefs good. Colts plenty of room. Cowboys barely 180,000. Dolphins good. Eagles good. We're looking good. Knicks good. 49ers, man, I was really hoping somebody would be over the cap. 25, that's a lot. 60 million for the Jets. My God. Something tells me they don't have 53 players. Lions with 33.5. Yeah, looking good. We're good. Patriots, my God. Raiders with yeah. Man, this is lame. Somebody's got to be under so I can yell at you. Saints with tons of room. Almost too much room. Yeah. You look at that. And then there's the Vikings with $0 in cap space. I guess technically they are under, so or right on the salary cap.
Oh,
He's not under, but he's not above it.
He's not above it, and that's the rule: is you can't be above it. So I'm not going to go through to see who had 53 players, because I'm honestly not really sure how to do that. But
Oh no, you can do in trade block. You can go explore your teams.
All right, well, we're going to do that too. Make sure everybody's 53. All right, well, obviously the Bears are good. All right, Bengals good. Bills good.
Oh, yeah.
Man, look at you guys. Broncos good. Browns good. Bucks good. Cardinals good. Oh my gosh, is everybody just ready? Colts good. Oh my God. Cowboys.
We're locked in, baby. I'm telling you, we're locked in.
I think we're ready.
Falcons. 49ers. Giants. Jags. Oh my God. Then there's the Jets, who haven't made their cuts yet, but they're above 53. Lions 53. Ooh. Who would have thought? Mike with only 48. Mike, getting free agency, buddy. You got to get 53 before you can play your game. Panthers, at least he's got cap room to do it. Patriots are good. Raiders are good. Rams are good. Ravens are good. Football team, Saints, Seahawks, Steelers, Texans, Titans, and Vikings. Man, Vikings barely gets to the 53. Wow, that's really good. I thought for sure there was going to be a decent list of people there, but it's just Mike. Are we surprised? I mean,
Yeah, we'll work through it.
Not whatsoever now.
that's all right. I mean, if at least it's not a thing that he can't get out of. He's got like $8 million to sign, whatever it was, like 4 guys. I think he's good. Let people calling him out in the chat. Oh well. All right. I mean, I know it's 5 minutes early, but guys, Are you guys ready for season 29 of Better League Football? And I'm talking to you, Dan. I'm talking to you, Connor. I'm talking to you, Cody.
Oh, okay. I
ready?
thought that was to the people. Yeah, no, I'm
you on the
super
other
ready.
side
Yeah,
of this.
I'm actually really excited this year. Like, first time I played Dan since Madden 18. It's gonna be a hard schedule, but ready. Yeah, let's get it.
Are you wondering if I'm ready? Are you wondering? As I hot route a Texas route, as I hot route a corner route, as I hot route a post route, as I hot route a crosser, of course I'm excited. Joe Mixon, new ability, kind of works. Doesn't always work, but works better than armbar. Gonna be bruising through some kids. Of course I'm ready.
Daniel, I need a speech from you, buddy. This is your time.
You know, better league, best league in the world. I'm so excited, man. I'm just ready for those Chicago Bears coming up. On the other side of this event, Norman Fletcher has already hit the warm up. We got it. Next season, we're ready. The team is going to compete. We are going to compete this year, and the entire league is going to compete. Extremely grateful for the opportunity to compete. Here we go.
I need hype in the chat right now. I need the emojis. I need fan it up. We need it. Better League Network, Better League, season 29, baby. Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at week 1. Thank you so much for watching the prediction poll results show. Get your games in, baby. The Bears and Saints will be going down here shortly, and then there's tons of other games that are going on, so get your multi-twitch ready because it's about to go. Thank you so much for watching. Better League Network out.